Hey gang, welcome. Thank you for joining me again today. I am working on a commission. It's actually a small job, but it needs to be done. And let me describe it for you. I am a little bit of an unusual assignment. I'm to do a charcoal sketch, a finished charcoal sketch, I'll call it, of a woman's dream vision. She had a vision, and this is actually the second one I've done for her. The other one is finished, and it's kind of fun. It's a fun assignment. So the vision is she is falling or has fallen off a cliff, but somebody has caught her by one arm, by one hand, and she looks up and it's a man. Okay, that's the end of the vision. That's all I've got. So the other day, last week when she was here, let me just fly through some of these really quickly. These are some of the sketches that I did while she was sitting right here, and we said, yes, no, yeah, are we looking up? Are we looking down? And so on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these were with vine charcoal. 6. At this point, we started getting a little bit closer. Looks like we took a jump there. Looks like I did one illustration on this side, then turned it over and did another one here. And the last thing that she saw when she left my office was actually this, which is a scan into my computer and then manipulated a little bit to work out issues. Now, after she left, I did a little bit more work and came up with this illustration, which I'm not very happy with. Or else was it this one? Oh, maybe this is what I don't remember. Yeah, I think I drew this while she was here. Then we scanned it and did a little bit of tweaking here, and then I've done this. And again, not very happy with it. So I'm finally getting back to it today. Let me tell you some of the things that I've done. Then, first of all, I went online and I did a Google search for, I think I called it female artist model arms up, and came up with, because of course this is the kind of thing I want to see. I'm supposed to know all this, quote unquote, supposed to know what do all these muscles and sinews, tendons do when the arms are up, because it doesn't show me what would happen if she was being held, suspended by that one arm. I don't think I'm going to find a photograph that's specific. I do have one recourse in front of me, and that is, let me show you my messy studio just for a second, so that I can point out to you that I have a mirror on my studio wall. Every studio I've ever had in the last 30 years, I've got a mirror in it. Why? Well, because when you guys aren't looking, I'm going to rip off my shirt and I'm going to be posing. I'm going to be modeling myself in front of that mirror, trying to find out what happens to all these things. So that's of course one resource that I have in front of me. And then finally, I went and grabbed some of my anatomy books. This is maybe my favorite anatomy book, Jack Ham. And the reason Jack Ham is so good is because, okay, let me show you a typical good anatomy book. Okay, this is called Joseph Shepard Anatomy, a complete guide for artists. Okay, right, complete guide, right? That's the scary part. Okay, so he starts out with ratios and starts talking about bones, and then he starts drawing bones. Then he starts drawing muscles on the bones, and he starts drawing skin on top of the muscles. And if you're paying any attention to this, you're going, golly. Okay, let's just zero into just one page. Okay, so here's 4 drawings of the arm, 4 different positions, 4 different angles. And no, again, if anatomy was my full-time job, then, which it's not, I could do all this. By the way, I do think that this is probably of all the books in my library, this might be the next one for me to go through and draw every stinking illustration he's got in here. Basically draws every bone, every muscle, every whelmed. Got it? Overwhelmed. That allows me to point out why Jack Ham is so brilliant, because he does a lot of the same stuff, but he gives so many, what's the word? Mnemonic devices, tricks for remembering stuff. He gives so many little tricks for remembering this glut of information. So that's what Jack Ham is so good at. He'll say, "Did you notice that?" You know, I don't even know what he said. I forget. I've read it before, but I forget right now. You know, did you notice that? Do you see these V's and so on and so on? So that's why Jack Ham is so good, because he takes all that information and makes it memorable. And then again, here's just another, again, what I would call typical anatomy book, chock full of good illustrations. And his book is divided up in standing, sitting, reclining, you know, different poses, male and female, which I recommend very strongly, that if you're learning the human figure, that you learn the male first, actually, if you're going to get serious about this, because if you learn the male, you can translate it to female. You can't go the other way around. You have to learn the muscles, and for that you have to see a male figure. Anyway, so here I am, and I just started scribbling right before I don't even know where that is now. So let me show you how I might go through this process then. And again, without turning off the camera and going and standing in front of my mirror. That may come later. Let me demonstrate by saying, here's what I'm not going to do. Even though I've drawn it to this point, and as you can see, I've got the sketch, what I call my sketch grip in hand. And I'm pretty familiar with, you know, what this deltoid would be doing, what this clavicle would be doing, what this, what's the zygomatic arch? No, that's not. Okay. Oh, and see, she doesn't have enough of a chin. She doesn't have enough of a neck there. So I'm going to raise her head a little bit and raise it back. And this is a little bit short, I see now. Okay, and I'm fairly familiar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to back up from that. So again, here's the latest good drawing that I have. And then I worked on it a little bit from there. Not terribly pleased with that. Let me show you what I do. And I think this is a good strategy. That is, I go backwards. Hang on, stay there. Let me get you another book. I didn't think about showing you this one. One of my favorites, Edwards' Life Drawing. Edwards, but Bridgman's. Not Edward, Bridgman's Life Drawing. Okay, and he worked in the 1920s, Art Student League of New York. I want to show you the beginning of this book. Here he is, and he's one of the greats, still considered one of the greats. And I have drawn, years ago I drew every illustration in this book. Here you go, drawing the figure. Well, that looks strange. Drawing the figure. Well, that looks funny. A cube, a cube, a cube, 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 cube. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, so like that looks like, there we go, that's figure drawing. That looks like figure drawing, right? He says, yeah, but we don't start there. Here's where we start. And I don't know if I do this because of Bridgman. It may be, because I think I drew through this book maybe 12 years ago or something like that, 2005, 5 or 6. Here's where he starts. He takes the 3 basic the three basic building blocks of the human physique: head, torso, chest, rib cage, torso, chest, and hips. Those three blocks, they do not morph. They don't change. They move, but the blocks themselves, that's what he goes at great lengths to say. And then he starts developing. Okay, so I've been influenced by him, and I influence many other people. What he's doing here, he's following this very, 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 very important principle when it comes to either any kind of drawing. Start simple and then grow, add complexity as you can handle it. Let me go back to, and I know this is only germane, if you will, to those of you who have any interest in figure drawing at all. But you don't start here, you don't start here, you don't start here, 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 or here, here. All of this is way too complex. Let's take, for instance, let's take the hand. And I think this is a great book, and I'd like to draw every, golly, page 1. No, no, no. In my opinion, that is not where you start. Now, I mean, and this is really good material, don't get me wrong. That is not where you start. Let me show you where you start. Let me take a detour here. Let me show you, first of all, you take a great big fat drawing. And again, I recommend the sketching grip, which eliminates the movement of the digits, right? This is your control freak grip. This is what you write with. So it puts you in the wrong part of your brain. That part of your brain that moves these muscles, that moves these digits, is not a very good artist. The part of your brain that controls your arm is a much better artist. So here, in my way of thinking, well, let's just start real simple. Here's a hand. Here's a better hand. Here's a better hand. Here's a better hand. Are you with me? Simple, add, and after 14 pages of adding stuff, we get to wherever that was that we were looking at a minute ago. The hand. Got it? Got it? This comes way later. So that's the principle I want to communicate. So let's go back to my project. Girl, young lady suspended by one arm. And again, by the way, yes, I'm probably going to go and stand and take off my shirt. You'll be glad to know I'm not going to do it while I'm broadcasting. And I'm going to stand and say, what happens? Okay, but here's how I start. I start all the way back at the blocks. Wait, this head is looking up, not down. I start simple. And this is, in fact, what I quite strongly recommend that you do as well. Now, some of you might say, well, I'm way past that. Okay, good for you. Good, 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 good. Some of you are, and you may be. If you looked at my illustrations, my drawings, my paintings, you would think that I, Dan Nelson, am way past this too, when in fact I am showing you my secret sauce, my secret weapons. So I'm trying to visualize here basically George Bridgman's chest box. That's torso box, rib cage box. Okay, so I want to, because it's simple enough. Now I can start adding things. Oh yeah, and my client, we worked at it quite a bit. We decided this arm. See, all of a sudden now I like this angle of her head slightly better than this one. Here her face is kind of straight like this, and in this I've got it tilted this way a little bit, which I think is a little bit more believable if she's being suspended by one arm. Let me jump up here and get something else. Just a minute, because I want to show you what other things have helped me literally over the decades. And that is this guy. You've all seen this? Yeah, I know you have. There's some really good things about these figures and some really bad things. Okay, so you have to know what's what. The bad thing is you can't get this wooden ball to be subsumed into this torso unit. Does that make sense? It doesn't work. So this ball, because of the nature of physics, this ball has to be outside, which is not very realistic. But the fact that there is a ball there is pretty realistic. I'm probably getting, so as you can see, this circle right here is roughly represented by this sphere, although it's subsumed into this. I hope that's making sense to you. But the part that really made me think about this is, do you see what I did here? Look at, now that's very simple, very, very simple. But putting a little circle there is not, and by the way, look at a simple hand. How simple can you get, right? Until you can draw this, don't even try to draw more complex than this. Get this down first, then move from there. See, I like the angle of her head there a little bit more. This shoulder is way up compared to this shoulder. This shoulder is coming down toward us. Then her torso is going down like that, and her hips. If the shoulder goes one way, generally the hips go the other. This is the way the human figure moves. If the head's up here and the torso and hips down here, they move like this. Man, how do I know that? Oh, I know it just from all kinds of things, but I want to show you. I just saw it in here somewhere. I don't know if I can find it really quickly again. Again, Jack Ham is the best, in my opinion, at go here he starts talking about this. Here he goes, the changes of direction in the figure. Again, he's the only one. Look at how much verbiage is in here. The reason is he's explaining all this stuff, and if you read it, you go, oh, wow, that makes sense. That's really clever. Here we go. See, same thing again. If this line goes this way, then that line goes that way. He does a whole bunch of that. Here it is again. Here it is again. Here it is again. This is huge. So anyway, I'm just explaining to you so how do I know that, say for instance, that if this shoulder is up, that this hip is going to be up. That's why, because I've done some of my homework. Okay, let me continue to draw then. So then my next, again, partly borrowing from this mannequin, although it's unreal. A sphere is good, but this sphere needs to be subsumed into the hip mass. And because of physics, it can't do that. So you have to make that change. But the idea of using that, using a sphere to represent the joint between the femur, the hip, quads, lats, quads and tris, and the hip and so on is a good starting point. Okay, and then, by the way, one of the things that I am doing without even telling you, and almost without even thinking, but I want to mention it to you because I'm doing a bunch of stuff that you can't see, so to speak, and that is I'm, quote unquote, accidentally getting arm length correct compared to the head. The length of the arms, the torso, and the legs compared to that. And the answer, why am I getting that right? And the answer is years and years and years of drawing this. I can do this, so to speak, in my sleep. I know how, my hand knows how long. Now, I can give you measures, and I do in my drawing classes. Whenever we do figure drawing, I give you all kinds of, what's the word? Numbers, that's not the word I'm looking for. Metrics, that's the word. I give you all kinds of metrics for figuring out how the figure is 8 heads tall, and so on and so forth. But I'm not gonna get into that right now. So that's how I start. I'm not going to make you I'm not going to make you watch me do this whole thing, but I do want you to see the next step. First of all, some of you know this is a light table. That means it's a table that has lights in it. Okay? If I need them even brighter than that, I can turn it on even brighter like that. Woo! That's pretty bright. Then I take this piece of paper. This is a trick I have used literally for decades and decades. And now that I've turned it over, it's a question. Do I want to continue in my, what I call my sketch grip, which I do defend vehemently, or do I want to switch to my control grip? And that is a very good question. I feel it's very intuitive. I feel like I'm ready to go to control grip. Now here at this point, at this moment, I'm working on, of course, the planes of the face, the planes of the skull. And of course, I don't need to get it all right off the bat. Better to keep it abstract. I'm just checking myself by turning off that light. Better to keep it abstract than to start pounding away. Is this the trapezius right here? Or is this, see, and I should know that. I should know that traps versus, no, the trap is this right here. This is, somebody there, one of you guys knows the name of that muscle. I'll look it up later. But now I'm starting to think of muscles and bones here at the, by the way, here's a quick, so if the elbow at this level of abstraction can be fairly represented by a sphere, a circle, then at 1 degree more realistic is actually more accurately represented by a diamond. Because look at, we're going to get this muscle, this bone here and this bone here, showing on both sides of that elbow. And I'm thinking the whole time, what is the angle of this forearm? Of course, she's being caught by a man, so I've got to do all of this stuff that I'm doing for the woman. I've got to do the same thing for the part of the male anatomy that we can see as well. And it's going to be, as I've indicated here in one of my earlier rough sketches, it's going to be a double grip. In other words, it's going to be this, right? She's grabbing his forearm, he's grabbing her forearm. So it's a pretty secure grip. It's not like in some of the crazy movies where people are hanging on like that. You can't hold your weight very long at all by your hands. But this, anyway. This drawing here then, and I don't need to, and there's a bit this muscle, a little bit of that muscle right here. Of course, the female generally doesn't have nearly as much definition. Here's a pretty strong workout woman, and she has almost still, in spite of the fact that she's a real gym rat, gym babe, she has very little definition up here. These ladies up here have virtually none. So you can see the deltoid and the oh good grief, I'm drawing blanks here. Tries here, bis here, and so on. Very little definition. So anyway, but the man on the other hand, that's why, by the way, why I strongly recommend learning, if you're going to serious about learning human anatomy, start with the male, learn the male anatomy, and then translate to the female, which is very much what George Bridgman does. He focuses primarily on the male so that you can learn the muscle groups. Once you learn it, it's easy to smooth them out. He does females too, but he's a good teacher, very good teacher, and he does it the right way. And there's a female. Anyway, I agree with him. So again, I don't have to work out. I'm already liking this a little bit better than what I had earlier. So I'm going to continue. Eyes are open, eyebrows are raised. Definitely a look of alarm, if not abject terror. It may be abject terror. I also like the mouth being slightly askew, not completely symmetrical, not open evenly across. And for some reason that strikes me well. A lot of these things, by the way, like I'm talking about right now, they do happen sort of accidentally while you're drawing. That's why you do, so many sketches, because you get certain ideas fall off your pen, so to speak. Okay, now let's go back to this. So again, I'm seeing this image that I did just a few minutes ago, right? I'm seeing it through the paper and just taking it to the next level of, so here, instead of just a circle, over here, the deltoid was represented by a circle. Now I'm going to make it one step more realistic and make it like an upside down teardrop, which is a little bit more realistic. Then the bicep sits right on top of that arm. The tricep we don't really see here. The pecs we see here. How much, lateral, and she's going to have clothes on, of course, so it's not, we don't have to do every muscle group. Her breasts is are there, but I don't, this is not supposed to be some kind of whatever sexy thing. I'm not going to make, it's not a Pulp Fiction detective novel lady. Is that enough said? Is that all right? It's not a 1950s pinup girl, let alone a 2018 hustler girl, let alone that. Okay, am I being clear enough and tasteful enough? Now, here's a question: palm open. Yeah, well, it looks like we decided that, my client and I. So here I am drawing a hand just to the next level of next level of complexity. I don't have to iron everything out. That's probably good enough. Wrist, this line, very important marker. Okay, now let's go down. You've probably seen enough anyway. Quads, knees, hams, knee. Again, knee at one level of abstraction, viewed from the front. Viewed from the front, a good trick is a trapezoid or a V sitting in a V. Here's a knee. Let me turn off this light. Here, again, just kind of like this. You start out real simple. Let me give you one of the most simple. This is viewing from the front. This is a person's knee. Okay, there's their calf. A V sitting in a V. Next level, cut off the bottom of the V's, and it's a trapezoid sitting inside a trapezoid. And then at that point, you start coming in and straightening out and doing minor modifications. Just those little things. You learn those things by reading books. You learn them by reading Jack Ham. You learn them by observation. You learn them just by seeing and looking and so on. So little by little by little, your vocabulary of the anatomy grows. So when I'm drawing this knee down here, I'm saying, oh wait, that's not quite the right angle. I think this leg is actually coming toward us. Akimbo is the word, or splayed out toward the viewer just a little bit. This woman is not in a, what's the word, in a dainty, this is her not looking at her best, even though, I don't want it to be horribly awkward, but I want to catch that sweet spot between, she's in grave danger, and so on. But so this leg coming toward us is a little bit, okay. So that's probably enough for now. Of course, she has short, spiky hair. My client, this is not supposed to be a portrait of my client, but body here a minute ago. So this clavicle goes pointing almost straight toward us. This one is coming down away from us, and so on. This deltoid is nearly, I think now that I think this arm needs to come more this way. So, okay, here's the last thing I'll show you. So that's my last drawing. Let me fix this arm real quickly. I decided to turn it a little bit closer to her head. Yeah, that looks like what would happen if someone was suspended. So what I do now is I come and erase real quickly. I'm just using a big white eraser. Erase drawing number 1, along with some of my notes. This page is getting very messy. And Now it's erased. I turn the light on again, and now I can draw her yet again. Does it make sense? I'm back to my sketch grip, actually, ironically here. Mostly, of course, generally speaking, you need to draw the figure unclothed so that you don't get distracted by clothing. Like, I know she's going to be wearing an untucked shirt. Yes, hey, Erlinda, nice to hear from you. Exactly. 3/4 view. Anyway, so I'm going to erase that line I just did, even though I know her shirt's going to be untucked. See, I don't want that there because that's going to muck up my focusing on her anatomy. And I really have and you know, here's the old thing, no matter how conservative. Oh, and by the way, let me tell you something. I've finally decided to come clean on this issue. I do not do drawing nude figures, much to my disappointment. But I do that because my wife, whom I love immensely, just can't get over it. She just feels like she just can't see it. She just can't see, you know, that I can gaze at another woman's naked body and not get horny. Now, I think I can. There's no question in my mind. So I think she's wrong. Be that as it may, and I'm saying this partly because I was asked a couple of weeks ago to do a 3-day anatomy course, which I'm thrilled to do because I love teaching anatomy. But I said, no, you're not going to want me because I don't do nude models because of my wife. And so I finally decided just to be blunt to everybody and say, no, I don't do it. And I don't do it to honor my wife. I appreciate, I'm all for honoring my wife. I think she's wrong, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to honor her anyway. So there you go. There's my, what's the word? I'm out. It's sort of been a secret of mine for a long time. It's like, oh man, how am I going to tell anybody that I'm not going to do a figure drawing? But that's the way it is. So I feel very good about respecting my wife, even though I think she's wrong. Doesn't matter. This is an area I can lie. And plus, of course, right? I mean, I've got all these, you know, you can go online and find pose files, and I've got all these. But anyway, just I thought some of you might find that interesting, and you might think I'm stupid. You probably don't think I'm stupid for honoring my wife, and you're welcome to think my wife's wrong because I think she's wrong. But I'm going to do it anyway because I love my wife and we have a very happy marriage. So don't want to mess that up. Okay, so there you go. That's third drawing while you were watching, and I'm generally happier than I was with this. And I'll just keep going back and forth. I also have the option, of course, of putting this in computer and, you know, stretching things any way I want, warping it in Photoshop. I also have the option, as I said earlier, of so, you know, I'm picturing the iliac crest on her hips, about there. You know, I know where the more or less where the femur goes there, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. Now I'm just showing off. Okay, hope that's helpful for somebody. Hope it's helpful for me, doggone it. I do very much enjoy. For me, portraits and figures are like the last frontier. They're the greatest challenge in the art world, and so I very much enjoy stretching myself and trying to get it right. But I'm happy to say I like this. That's more convincing to me than this was. So I'm happy with the direction this is going. Thanks, guys. That's all. Leave your comments.